Hello students, welcome back to the lecture series on international business. So now we will discuss globalization and international business part 4. So the topics I am going to cover in this lecture are obstacles to globalization of Indian businesses, stages of globalization or internationalization. First, the obstacles to globalization of Indian businesses. So, in the previous lecture, we have seen the facilitating factors which is facilitating globalization for Indian businesses. Now, we will discuss the obstacles or the negatives which are present in our economy which is posing a hindrance to growth of globalized Indian businesses. Obstacles include poor infrastructure, restrictive government policies and bureaucratic procedures, uneconomic small scale of operations, obsolete technology, high cost of power and other inputs, poor quality image of Indian products, trade barriers by regional economic blocs, lack of experience, resistance to change, limited R&D and marketing research, growing competition in foreign markets. So, we will discuss each one of them one by one. The first is poor infrastructure. Though we boast about the infrastructural development in India, but still it is inadequate. So, infrastructure deficiencies like inadequate transportation, internet connectivity, water and power shortages can also act as constraints on trade and economic growth. So, every area of India is not witnessing infrastructural growth. So, it is confined to some of the areas and there the companies are flourishing, but there are certain backward areas also where infrastructure is not developed as yet. So, that poses an obstacle for globalization. Then lack of modern infrastructure is a hurdle as India faces challenges with inadequate power and water supply, transportation networks, infrastructure which can hinder the smooth functioning of businesses and impede globalization efforts. Although the governments over the years they are doing a lot in development of infrastructure, since it is a big country and it is covering the infrastructure development needed to be cover the whole of the country, it is a major Herculean task. So, the government is doing it is facilitating that thing, the growth of infrastructure, but still there is a long way ahead. Then second point is restrictive government policies and bureaucratic procedures. Now, bureaucratic delays are common in India, which frustrates the foreign businesses. Beside that, though our country has opened up, but still there are many restrictive government policies. So, that both the points pose a hurdle for businesses to go global or global businesses to come to India. So, foreign businesses often encounter challenges due to the dynamic and sometimes unpredictable nature of Indian regulations. Then we have a complex regulatory mechanism because different states have varying rules and frequent changes in legislation also takes place which can impact business operations. So, it is again a hindrance in that path to globalization. Despite a surge in foreign direct investments and foreign investments, there is some rigidity, some rigid policies are there which can act as a significant hindrance to globalization. India's Make in India initiative or Atmanirbhar Bharat, while aimed at boosting domestic industries, has been perceived as inward looking or protectionist by other countries, potentially hindering global trade and investment. Uneconomic small scale of operations. So, this is again another hurdle for Indian businesses to go global. So, uneconomic small scale operations pose a significant obstacle to India's globalization efforts, hindering competitiveness and market access for domestic businesses and face international competition. Lack of economies of scale is there. So the Indian businesses are so small that they are not reaping the benefit of economies of scale. So small scale businesses often struggle to achieve the cost advantages that come with larger operations, making it difficult to compete on price and quality in global markets. Small businesses have a limited access to technology and innovations. They lack the resources to invest in advanced technologies and innovative processes which are crucial for staying competitive in a globalized economy. Obsolete technology is another problem. And why obsolete technology? Because there is a shortage of fund for small and medium sized enterprises. So many Indian industries, especially small and medium sized enterprises, which are called SMEs, and traditional sectors like handicrafts and agriculture rely on outdated technologies, making them less competitive in the global market. There is also a difficulty in adopting new technologies, which is posing a major challenge. People are resistant to change also. So that is also posing a problem. Lack of access to affordable and reliable technology, coupled with a shortage of skilled labor, further deepens the problem of outdated technology. The next point is high cost of power and inputs. So, India faces challenges with the cost and reliability of power, making it expensive for businesses to operate and compete internationally. Not only there is a shortage, and because of which the prices are higher, but there are frequent power breakdowns, and which is affecting the industries. In many areas, the power is there is so much of shortage of power that the businesses do, or the factories do not run for days, and that is also affecting the productivity. The cost of raw material, transportation and other essential inputs can also be a barrier, increasing production costs and reducing competitiveness. Poor quality image of Indian products. So, why we go for foreign products? Why not Indian products? Being an Indian, we do not buy Indian products. We shun Indian products and buy the foreign multinational brands, because we ourselves have this poor quality image of Indian products. Then think about the foreign country people. They also have this kind of image. So, this negative perception for Indian products is a hindrance for the growth of Indian products in global markets. So, Indian product services sometimes face a perception of lower quality compared to those from developed nations and international standards, hindering their ability to compete globally. Indian brands often lag in innovation and technology adoption, which is crucial for building a global reputation for quality and competitiveness. So, you look around and you will find that we are using most of the multinational brands and very few Indian brands in every product category. Take the example of mobile phones. How many of you are having a totally Indian manufactured or Indian brand of mobile phone or smartphone? So, there is a need for greater innovation and technology adoption. Manufacturers may prioritize cost cutting in the domestic market, potentially leading to lower quality. So, when there is a cost cutting, obviously there will be lower quality of products compared to those intended for export. So, manufacturing process, so many of the manufacturers, they produce the same product in two variety. One is cost cut and lower quality, and for export market they might be producing a better quality product. But again, this is not acceptable. Manufacturing processes and machinery used locally may lag behind international standards, affecting consistency and quality. The seventh point is trade barriers by regional economic blocs. Now, many of the regional economic blocs are becoming stronger, and the members of those regional economic blocs, the member countries are ready to buy from each other at no tariff at all. But they are posing huge tariff for the non-member countries like India. So, emergence of strong regional economic blocs, especially like European Union or ASEAN, are posing challenge for non-members like India. So, now India has become a member of ASEAN and SAARC. So, there they get the advantage, but they are shunned by the regional economic blocs of other regional economic blocs. They have a disadvantageous position in terms of EU, in terms of say NAFTA or the South American countries bloc. They impose high tariffs on non-members, making it difficult for them to compete. Regional trade blocs, while promoting trade within their members, can also lead to trade diversion, where member countries prioritize intra-regional trade over more efficient trade with non-member countries, potentially hindering India's global trade. So, suppose we are talking about a European Union, the member nations will buy from each other, and even if they are not as efficient in producing the product as is India, but they will prefer the products from member nation rather than from India, and they will impose tariffs on Indian products. So, that is a hindrance for Indian products. Then lack of experience. The general lack of experience in managing international business is another important problem. Indian companies often face challenges in accessing the and understanding foreign markets, because the way of doing business in other countries is very different from how we work in India. So, there are cultural differences, there is a different orientation which the Indian businesses need to understand while they are going global. Like, like if you are trading with Japan, so Japan expects zero defect. So, they have this type of manufacturing where there is zero defect, but in India we find that there is we keep a scope for defective products, and we believe that there will be 95% perfect product but 5% defective product. Now, you will lag behind while doing business with outside world or with Japan, because you do not have that zero defect policy. This leads to difficulties in adapting products and marketing strategies to international standards as well. So, this is also posing a challenge. Then another point is resistance to change. Now, in India, liberalization policies faced opposition from different political parties, businesses and social groups. Now, you see, whenever a change is happening, there will be many parties who will oppose that kind of change, whether it is say FDI investment in retail sector. So, when FDI investment in retail sector was proposed, the retailers went against the government and they protested, because they thought that it will impact their businesses and there will be competition, they will face competition. So, always there will be one group or the other who will oppose the policies, because there is a problem of resistance to change. So, this encompassing concerns about, they may be having concerns like cultural shifts, economic inequalities and the perceived negative impacts of foreign influence. Also, there is always a fear of unknown. So, if something new happens or is being introduced, there will be one party or the other which will oppose it, and that also poses a hindrance in the path of globalization of Indian businesses. Industrial worker organizations and groups representing farmer interests have organized protests in the past against the entry of multinational corporations. Again, there was a patenting of Indian plants like neem. Neem produced like basmati happened in America and European companies. It sparked controversy. Some political parties voiced opposition to the cultural aspects of globalization, including the influx of foreign television channels, the celebration of Western festivals like Valentine's Day, and the perceived westernization of food and dress habits. So, they are skeptical about that, and they believe that we are slowly losing our cultural values because of globalization. Some groups resist globalization due to concerns that it undermines traditional values and cultural identity. Globalization has led to a widening gap between the rich and the poor, with some groups feeling left behind by the economic changes. So, the rich are becoming richer and they are buying all the globalized product, but the poor are becoming poor and they are not able to afford even the basic products. Um, then some argue that globalization has led to job losses in certain sectors, particularly for traditional industries and workers unable to adapt to the changing global economy. And this is a reality also. If we take the example of handloom industry or handicraft industry, we find that those products are losing grounds, and they are facing severe competition from the global brands or global products. Maybe the products are not of that good quality, but and handicraft products or handloom industry of India is producing a better products, but still they are losing out because of the stiff competition from the foreign producers. Globalization has also been linked to environmental degradation with increased industrial activity and resource consumption. We are over consuming our resources, and also we are polluting the environment more in our path towards more becoming more global or producing more. Then another point is limited R&D and marketing research. So, in India we find that limited research and development is taking place in comparison to other countries, and the marketing research, this poses significant obstacles to India's globalization efforts, hindering innovation, competitiveness and international market penetration. India's R&D investment as a percentage of GDP remains low compared to global leaders, impacting technological advancement and innovation. The Economic Survey 2023-24 highlights a need for better integration of higher education, industry and research, as well as faster commercialization of technologies. While India's R&D spending has increased, it is still a small fraction of the global average. So, if we compare, we find that the gross expenditure of R&D was just 64% of GDP in 2021 for India, while most developed countries spend more than 2%. Another point is the growing competition in foreign markets. So, we find there are global giants, and it is very difficult for Indian companies or even Indian multinationals to compete with the global giants. So, global giants run the show as Indian businesses, especially small and medium sized enterprises (SMEs), face intense competition from established multinational corporations in global markets. Now, the next point is the stages of globalization or internationalization. So, this is very important topic. So, it may be if you are asked about stages of globalization or stages of internationalization, they mean the same. So, here we will discuss how a company becomes a global company. So, different stages are there and we will discuss it one by one. So, the stages of internationalization typically involve a progression from domestic operations to international expansion, encompassing domestic export, multinational and potentially transnational or global operations. So, if we see the stages of globalization or internationalization, we find that initially the company may be a domestic company, then it will become an international company, then when it will work in different countries, more than two countries, it become multinational company. Then we find that it may become global company, and finally a transnational company. So, we will discuss each of these stages one by one. So, the stage 1 is domestic company. So, most of the international firms initiate their operations as domestic firms. Take the example of say Tata Consultancy Services. So, initially it was catering to Indian markets only, and slowly it became international. So domestic firms usually have ethnocentric orientation. So in our next lecture, we will discuss about ethnocentrism, regiocentrism, geocentrism and polycentrism. But here, for your understanding, ethnocentric orientation means where we are restricting our product and marketing mix to our home country strategy. So whatever we are doing in home country, we extend it in other countries. So domestic firms will have a product which will be totally catering to the needs of the home country, and if they continue selling that product in foreign market, we will say that and without any changes, then we will say that it is having an ethnocentric orientation. That means they are still sticking to their home country's marketing strategy or marketing mix. So domestic firms usually have ethnocentric orientation because at the very initial stage, they do not consider going international as an option for its growth. The firm continues with its national model for operations for some time, and when the growth gets stagnated, it expands and diversifies to new markets within the home country instead of focusing on the international market. So here even when they are catering to say one region and growth becomes stagnated in one region, they will expand to another region within the country first. But when the diminishing prospects they find in the domestic market and in increased opportunities in the international market, so it will encourage the firm to redevelop and fine tune its strategies to explore international market opportunities, and then the firm moves to the next level. So the domestic firm will now start exporting to foreign country, because in India, suppose we take an example of Indian firm. In India, it might be possible that the growth has become stagnated, but opportunities are there in other countries. So they will start simple exporting their excess capacity or excess production through franchising or licensing. So the firm moves to the next level of evolution and market its products to foreign markets through suitable internationalization technique like direct exports, franchise and licensing. Domestic companies starts exporting in foreign countries. For example, Tata Motors sends vehicles to Vietnam and Latin America. Then the stage 2 is international company. The orientation of the company is basically ethnocentric. Here also they are ethnocentric, that means home country bound marketing strategy, and the marketing strategy is an extension of the marketing mix developed for the home country, and this is extended into foreign markets. International companies normally rely on international business. So they are not making any changes in the products strategy, pricing strategy or promotion strategy or distribution strategy. They are just using whatever they are using in their domestic market in foreign countries. International companies extend their domestic models to the foreign markets with the ethnocentric orientation with limited resources, and it is done at the initial stages of internationalization. Examples are Tata Consultancy Services, Wipro, Infosys, etc. The third stage is multinational company. Now they have started operating in more countries and they have a polycentric orientation, like they are creating a separate marketing strategy or marketing mix strategy for different countries. In this stage, the company starts responding to the specific needs of foreign markets in terms of product, price and promotion. Different strategy for different markets are developed with a polycentric orientation. Hence, when a company decides to respond to market differences, it evolves into a stage 3 multinational that pursues a multi-domestic strategy. The focus of the company is multinational that pursues a multinational, or strategic terms multi-domestic. We call it multi-domestic. In multinational companies, each foreign subsidiary is managed as if it were an independent city state. The subsidiaries are part of an area structure in which each country is part of a regional organization that reports to the world headquarters. Examples include Toyota, McDonald's. Stage 4 is global company. The global company will have either a global marketing strategy or global sourcing strategy. It will either focus on global markets and source from the home, or a single country to supply these markets. So, anything is possible. Sometimes it will focus on the domestic market and source from the world to supply its domestic channels. So, both the flows are possible. All strategies for the product development, product marketing, etc. will be global in respect of global corporation. So, global companies have global marketing strategy, produces in home country, focuses on marketing its products globally. So, examples include Coca-Cola, Amazon, Unilever, etc. Stage 5 is transnational company. Firms which achieve global efficiency and local responsiveness are called transnational firms. These firms are highly decentralized in terms of decision making. Examples are Apple, Nike, etc. And we cannot put the companies in a watertight compartment like this is stage 3 company, stage 4 company or stage 5 company. Whichever company was stage 2 at one stage has become a stage 5 company over the years. So, we like McDonald's has also become a transnational company. Every transnational business unit has freedom to take its decision with very minimal control from corporate headquarters. However, there is no pure transnational firm, and these firms satisfy the characteristics of the global corporations. The transnational corporation is much more than a company with sales, investments and operations in many countries. This company, which is increasingly dominating markets and industries around the world, is an integrated world enterprise that links global resources with global markets at a profit. So, if we see the characteristics of transnational corporation, first of all, as we have seen that previously ethnocentrism and polycentrism, here it is geocentric orientation. So, they are coming out with a global product and global strategy. They think globally and act locally, invests, produces, markets and operates across the globe. Global strategy but allows value addition to the customer, allows adaptation to add value to the global offer. Assets are distributed throughout the world. R&D is integrated, so they may be having production units in different parts of the world. Production is spread throughout the world but is specialized and integrated. So, if we summarize this portion of the lecture, what we find is the obstacles to globalization in India are poor infrastructure, restrictive policies, uneconomic small scale of operations, obsolete technology, poor quality image of Indian products, trade barriers, limited R&D and marketing research, and the growing competition in foreign markets. The stages of globalization or internationalization includes domestic companies, international companies, multinational companies, global companies, and finally transnational companies. With this, we have come to an end of this lecture. Thanks to students. Have a very nice day.